Hello and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan,
I'm Ryan.
and this is a podcast where we cover two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. Ryan, I got nothing. I'm not stealing your catchphrase. I can't do
Oh,
it. I can't do it. I'm
no,
sorry.
please,
I can't
please. I
do
want to
it.
hear who you heard this from.
Nobody. I was gonna make up a story about how I was talking to my cat, and she was like, "Oh, their Patreon. You head over there, you get five
Oh,
dollars a
what?
month. $5 a
Oh,
month you support, and you get some fun flick fights, and it's meow-tastic." But that didn't happen. That would have been a big fat lie. And I know all the stories you tell are real.
uh,
Um,
it was
yeah.
only a lie because that's not what she said. She would never say meowtastic.
No, yeah, she's not a funny cat like that. She actually berates me every day about my crappy podcast. But we don't have to talk. We don't have to talk about her negativity. Let's get into this week's movie. With this Tuesday, we are covering Stalked by My Doctor, written and directed by Doug Campbell. This is a nice made-for-TV movie. If you can't tell from the title, it's about a doctor that stalks his patient. Oh, no, played by Eric Roberts is the
My
doctor.
favorite.
Yes. Eric Roberts, I feel like he's got to pop up on the show all the time. So many movies, it's hard to not run into him. But here he actually stars in the movie, kind of. Um,
Eh,
it-
Hardest working man in show business, or
he
one of them.
really is. But I won't say he's the the best man in show business. Man, I don't know. Eric Roberts is so much fun in this movie. He's just the material he's given. He's like going crazy with it. But this man, he makes too many movies. I don't think he cares. I don't know. Some takes, I swear, he's just slurring his words. Like he doesn't know how to finish his sentence, and he just slurs the rest of it.
Oh no, absolutely not. And it's very much like he feels like he's like goes onto the set and he's just like, I'm not doing another take. Like this is what you're getting out of me.
Yeah, I have two more movies today. Let's run through this, fellas. Yeah, no, it's something, but I think that adds to this movie. So this movie is very much Lifetime movie, like about a girl gets stalked, but
Was this on Lifetime actually?
I could not figure out what it aired on because there is no Wikipedia article
Like the
for
Hallmark
it.
Channel or something.
Yeah, it's definitely like I feel like Lifetime would be it. Here, one sec.
It's got to be Lifetime, I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, because it's not even on the trivia section on IMDb. I guess TV Guide picked this as one of the 50 most memorable villains of TV.
What?
I was gonna save this for the end, but since we're here, this movie got four sequels. This is a franchise, so like someone out
Well,
there loves these.
I guess, but like one of the most memorable TV villains
Ever, and not it didn't even say for
ever.
TV. Not it doesn't even say for like TV movies. It says
If it
ever.
said for TV movies, I could maybe swallow that pill, but just saying
This,
this is one
yeah.
of the greatest villains in TV ever.
And I would love to like see like X Files doesn't make the list or something like that.
Out of I would
Important
love to know
TVs.
I would love to know what ranking it got. Like, can you imagine like you're like it's like Gus from Breaking Bad, and then the doctor.
Dr. Beck
Yeah,
from
Dr. Beck.
yes, yeah.
So memorable. Everyone remembers that guy.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. I will probably remember it. This movie is a crazy ride. It's not good. It's not good. I want to preface that, but it is something. I laughed out loud quite a bit during this movie. That is not the intention of this movie.
It's horrible. It's like
Yes,
yeah, it's like
it's insane.
like all the like I mentioned that on Gregory's Girl where it's like, oh, I was totally afraid something bad was about that. Like this is that movie. Like this is the movie where I was like all my worst fears are like realized on screen.
Yeah, so I don't know, was the word incel part of like culture in 2015? I don't know, but Eric Roberts is like an old incel in a way. So he's a doctor, rich, he has it all, but he really, but sorry, he doesn't have a woman, so he really wants it. And right from the beginning of the movie, he gets a date with a girl, and it doesn't go well. And you get the introduction for the rest of the movie because he drives home angry and dumb bitch, you
Well,
bitch.
because you kind of get the inkling something's not right because he does show up to the
Mm-hmm.
date, and he gets stood up type of thing where
Mm-hmm.
he's just sitting there. It's like, oh, she's going to be here any minute.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets a phone call from her and she's like, I'm not coming, and
Yeah.
don't ever call me again, and
Yeah. Don't
stay
write on
off,
my wall anymore.
don't write on my wall, which you can't say Facebook. It's like, don't write on my wall. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm going, and she's like, I'm going to block you.
Yeah, and of course he gets angry about that, and we get the title of the movie, "Stalked by My Doctor." Well, this and so the movie is mainly about Sophie, who is just a teenager in high school, and oh my God, it's so like cheesy. This movie opens up with the plot line of like, oh, I got my college letter, but I can't open it. I don't know if I'm gonna be accepted. And of course, her friends are like, "You got this. I'll read it for you." And her friend is like, "Oh, you're not gonna make it," or we hate to inform
We,
you that. Go ahead.
yeah, it's like, we regret to inform you that you're going to be spending 4 years of your life here.
Yeah, with me as your roommate. And of course, they're all so happy about
Yeah, they're
it.
all like, yay.
Yeah, because her friend's got a boyfriend and Sophie's got a boyfriend. God, but her boyfriend is the worst because he texts and drives, which is like the big thing of this movie. So he's texting and driving, and it's like the dumbest thing. He's like it's like a sports scholarship, and right? And he's like, "Yeah, I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity." He's typing this all while
Th-
driving on
this
the
text
road.
couldn't wait for him to get home. He had to immediately let them know how
God.
appreciative he
Yeah.
was.
And Sophie's over here like, no, put it away. You don't need that. You know, I hate when you text and drive. But he's like, no, shut up. I,
They should have been like, because Lifetime makes like all these like super preachy movies about like,
mhm.
I'm surprised, like they didn't vilify him more for texting and driving. Because I
Yeah.
remember there's like a really infamous one where it's like a teenage boy is like addicted to internet porn,
Oh,
and he's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
or just really dumb ones where it's like cyberbullying is bad
Yeah.
type of
That,
thing.
that cyberbully one was like really popular. But I think that was ABC Family. But that's kind of the same deal.
Yeah, it's just very like super preachy, and it's like, I'm surprised they didn't do something where it was like, this is what could have happened. Like that could have easily turned into like, don't text and drive movie, and he's like, he's so obsessed with texting he can't stop
He
texting.
can't put his phone down. Yeah, no. And also I did look it up. Yeah, this was a Lifetime movie. Of course, it makes
Sounds about
sense.
right.
Yeah. Um but yeah, so they end up getting in a wreck. Nobody dies. She just has some heart problems, and come to find out, Eric Roberts is one of the best heart doctors in the nation. Like people go to him, and he seems like a good guy at first. Of course, we know he's not a good guy, but everyone else thinks he's a good guy. But I guess he's so good that like he has her in surgery, working on her heart, and then like she's like going into like shock, like her heart rate is raising and the blood pressure's going up, and he's like, no, we're just gonna deal with it, just wait it out, we don't need to do anything. And he's just that good that he knows all of that.
Like he knows exactly. Like, yeah, they had to emphasize that he's actually a really good doctor, because that would be being a stalker and a shitty doctor. Can you imagine?
That would be funny.
but uh, but he's immediately creepy with this girl, because before
Yes.
they even go into surgery, he like, she's freaking out, like she's like hyperventilating,
Hmm.
and she can't speak properly because like her whole chest is like messed up and everything with her heart. He's
Hmm.
like, okay, I'm gonna just ask you some questions. It's like, are you allergic to any medication? Like, do you have a history of heart problem? And she's just like, no, like, just shaking her head. And he's like, okay, last question. This one's very important. Do you like sushi? And it's like, huh? And he's like, okay, you love sushi. Great. Well, I'm going to take you out for some sushi after. Like
Yeah.
immediately, it's like, I'm
Yeah.
I'm
And
disgusting.
And I think it's supposed to be like played like kind of like, oh, he's just joking to keep the mood light. But then right after that, after the surgery, he's kissing her when she's knocked out. Just like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my God. And he kisses this. This is a young girl. And like seeing Eric Roberts kiss this young girl, it was
Oh,
very
it was
easy to be
so
like,
gross.
because like Eric Roberts, like old skin. Oh man, I was like, no, I don't want to see this.
Like,
That girl put in real hard work.
I mean, obviously, the girl's of age and she's like
Yes,
older,
yeah.
but she's not actually like a teenage girl probably, but it's
No.
like it's still just like the implication of like Eric Roberts like making out with like a 17, 18-year-old girl. It's just so gross. It's just I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I needed to see like
No.
him kiss. Like I already buy into the fact that he's a total creep. Yeah, it very much just like okay, like I already bought that he was a creep. I didn't need to see him like making out with like an unconscious girl. So
No, no. And of course, he seems like a nice guy at first, right? He's like, he's super nice to her. It's just like, hey, like if you ever need anything, let me know. But he's super clingy throughout this whole movie. Like he keeps making doctor's appointments and all this just to be with her.
well, yeah, like and this all happened like all this like stuff happens like in the hospital before like she even goes home because right after the surgery her parents are super grateful. They're just like, oh my
Yeah.
god, doctor, thank you so much. And
Oh,
the
that's
dad
right.
and the dad and like the dad is like, you made me, yeah, you saved my little girl. And like
hmm
the and the mom like kisses him like, I'm gonna kiss her, and I know if Sophie was here she'd give you a kiss too. And he's like, oh, like,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
but he's already immediately creepy because he walks in like while Sophie is like recovering and she's awake this time.
hmm
And he's just like, oh, let me change your bandage. And she's got a bandage like, right on her like torso, like rib cage area.
hmm
And she's like, oh, the nurse just changed it this morning. He's like, I
New
got some new,
ointment.
I got some new ointment. And it's just like, oh, okay. And like, she lifts up her gown and he's just like, just like rubbing his hands on her body
Yeah.
and the mom shows up and it's like, what was the doctor doing in here? And she's like, oh, he was just changing the bandage. Was there a female nurse here? And she's like, no, it was just him. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
Which
like,
is
okay.
Yeah, so the mom is put off from the guy pretty quickly. I do think it's funny that like it's kind of like both of them giving evidence to the dad to get like permission to get this guy in trouble. And the dad plays like the super dumb role of like, "Oh, what
I
are we
hated this
to do?
dad.
What are we supposed to do? Ruin his career? Come on, we're not going to ruin his career."
I hated this dad so much. Like
Like, I thought that was like I can't believe that like like oh well he's stalking my daughter, but I don't want to ruin this doctor's career or anything.
yeah, he was very much like being protected. Like it's like, come on, like he wouldn't do that type of thing. Like this is a
Yes.
really professional doctor. And um because Sophie, is really grateful at first, and she does
hmm
like write him like a little like handwritten thank you letter, being like, "Oh, thank you so much. I really
hmm
appreciate you saving me. And here, I got you this little bear," type of thing. And for him, that's like all bets off type of thing. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is my girl now. But before any of that happens, we do see him like go on another date
hmm
with somebody,
I love
and
that scene. Yeah.
and immediately she's like it's so off-putting like how he is. Like you can clearly see like how deranged he is.
Yeah, because
But
he's yelling at her in the middle of the restaurant.
well, like they go in there and they're eating and she's just like, this is a really nice time. Like you're such a super nice guy,
hmm
total gentleman. And I think I would like to spend some more time with you type of thing. And he's like,
hmm
oh well, perfect. Like, I have this little like beach house out on like in the Bahamas, like, I'd love to take you to. And she's like, okay. And then, I think that would be really good one day for our kids. And she's like, what? And it's like,
Yeah, he leaps straight to the kids, and she's obviously like, no, okay, this is not feeling right.
yeah, like, and she's just like, I just met you today and you're already
hmm
talking about me being pregnant with your kids.
Yeah, and then like the first thing he goes into is like as soon as he gets upset and he calls her a fat bitch like
Yeah.
in the middle of the restaurant. And she's like, "Go ahead, what are you gonna hit me?" And he's like, "I don't have to hit you," and just starts yelling at her in the street.
Yeah.
Um,
He's completely psychopathic. And
mhm.
he does eventually start like following Sophie,
Yeah,
like
so
stalking her.
Yeah, and I mean that's things get really weird whenever they meet. They run into each other at like at a cafeteria, and he comes over, starts talking to them, and and then he just all of a sudden drops, "Oh, you want to go to the movie with me? Like like a
He's like,
date?"
because she's there with her friend, and he's like, I'd like to take you to the movie, just us two though. We had leave your friend out of it, and she's just like, I need to go, and
Yeah,
then he's just like, no, I need to go, like,
yeah, and he's out of there. And of course, like that happens, and that kind of makes everything fall apart. But we have the plot line of the boyfriend the whole movie because the boyfriend stops talking to Sophie because I guess he feels bad about what happened. But one of my favorite moment because I was laughing my butt off was the boyfriend's in the hospital. Eric Roberts takes the phone and fake texts his girlfriend and he says like, "Oh, my girlfriend has a has a
has it.
scar under her boob. Looks like Bride of Frankenstein."
I'm dating Bride of Frankenstein with exclamation point,
Which is
exclamation
so funny
point.
because no kid would write that ever.
No, like nobody kid would ever say like the Bride of Frankenstein. They'd just be like, "What are we talking about?" And
I thought that was so funny.
that was so well because like he sends it to his friend, and I guess he
Mhm.
know like how did he know? I did he send it to like everybody or just that one
It
guy?
sounded it seemed like just that one guy because the guy had to be like, "Oh, look what he sent," because of
Yeah,
course he shows it immediately.
yeah, because like that's like the whole thing. Like after her accident, Sophie's got like this scar, and she's super self-conscious about it. And doesn't he like even at the one point like the doctor's like it's like oh like you like nobody would want to be with you anyway. You got this big hideous scar on your chest or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yes, he
And
does. Yeah.
but yeah, she sends like the text being like, "Oh yeah, I'm dating the Bride of Frankenstein," and he sends it to his friend, and his friend like immediately rats him out to
It
like
just
everybody.
yeah. And then later in the movie, he calls him and he's like, "Oh no, I was forced by her to show it." And no, that in that scene, he just immediately like, "Hey, look at this."
Well, yeah, very very dumb. It's very
Uh-huh.
like that type of thing. Because the whole time too, like she like Sophie finds out that her boyfriend sent this text and just like I don't ever want to see you again. Like you are
Hmm.
disgusting, and he's really trying hard. He's like, I would never say that. Like I love you for who
Hmm.
you are. Like I would never ever want to do like because even like the scene before he gave her like his grandmother's ring or whatever,
Yeah.
basically just like she's like, what does this mean? He's like, let it mean whatever you want it to mean, type of thing. And
Hmm.
just
Oh, and
so,
and this is with Eric Roberts in the closet watching.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a whole other thing too, where like Eric Roberts breaks into Sophie's room multiple times and just
Yes.
like goes around and like touching stuff and climbing into their bed. And there's like this honestly, like probably like the worst scene of the movie for me
Hmm.
was this scene where he's fantasizing that he's in Sophie's bed, and then like she like walks in on him, and
Yeah.
then she's like, "Oh, like doctor, like I'm so glad you're here," and like climbs on top of her, or she climbs on top of him, and
In
like
her underwear.
they start making out, and
Yes.
Eric Roberts is moaning like underneath the covers, and I'm like, oh my God, like what is he doing under the covers?
I mean, honestly, this movie is a little deranged because it has moments like that. Because this like amps up, man. Like it just goes like way up there. Because they actually cut all ties from the doctor after the movie thing. They're like, okay, we are done. We are not going to this heart doctor anymore.
Well,
Um,
well, he
okay.
shows up to the mall too at one point
Yes,
with
that's right.
and he tries to give Sophie a doll, and she's like, because it was like the same type of doll that she had in her bedroom. And and the funny part is like, she's like, I don't want that. Like that's weird. I'm not taking that. But
Hmm.
he like when he goes back to his house, he's like takes the doll, and is like,
And he
like
kicks it on the ground.
but like he's trying really hard to but it's like he can't do it. Like he's like
Mhm.
trying to break this doll, and he just like trying to rip it in half, and he's like he can't do it, so he just stomps on it.
Yeah, and this is like when Eric Roberts is really shining because he is just overacting so much.
He's deranged in this movie. But yeah, finally, but even after like the doctor like trying to ask her out on a date and everything, because the doctor like manipulates Sophie's dad and tells him
Mhm.
like, no, your daughter's actually obsessed with me
This
because
happens all the time.
yeah, like see this note? And he's just like, oh my God. And he's like, and the doctor and even the dad's like, okay, well, if she's obsessed with you, then we should probably just not use you anyway, just to keep you away. And
Hmm.
he's like, no, 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 like her heart condition is way too delicate, and you don't want to deprive her of my care. He's like,
Yeah,
oh, you're right. I just should totally do that. But even after that, like he like the ultimate thing where he's just like becomes like a total creep and like it's like confirmed that he's stalking her. And even then he's like, oh, come on, it's not that bad type of thing.
yeah, it's so stupid. I think it's supposed to be like a Lifetime movie, like, oh man, men suck. A man would do this kind of deal. Which I mean, I don't know, but it's funny that Eric Roberts gets upset, so he goes into his mom or Sophie's mom's prescription and basically gives her penicillin, even though she's allergic to it, and like drugs her, and like she almost dies, and Sophie saves her and they're in the hospital. And I love that the other doctor's like, oh wow, if she didn't get here in time, she would have died. And he's like, oh great.
Well, yeah, because like the whole time too, like Sophie said she wanted to be a doctor, like that's like her
Yes.
end goal. And then Dr. Beck shows up and tells Sophie, it's like, oh, you just saved your first patient. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And yeah, and she's over it at this point, and
Hmm.
she does eventually like she finds out she's getting into the college she wants, so she's like heading to the college that she wants to go to,
Hmm.
and she ends up getting kidnapped by Eric Roberts.
Yes, yeah. And this is the movie's really crazy here because he kidnaps her, but also fakes her death by going to the morgue, getting someone that looks
That
like
scene
her.
was so bonkers. Like him,
Yeah,
like he's
pulling
like
out the drawers.
he's like pulling out like the drawers, like he'll look like a dead guy's like, nope, not today, friend. And like pull out like a woman, like, nope, not good enough, baby, or whatever. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
and he's like, he finds one, he's like, just right, perfect. And it's
Yep.
just,
And then puts her in a car and like crashes it and burns the dead body. And everyone's convinced that this is Sophie and Sophie's dead. And nobody connects this to him really. Like it's kind of like its own deal. They actually have to investigate to see him. So he has her trapped and roped up in her bed in his bedroom, is like feeding her. I love the scene where she convinces him to untie her hands, and she like almost kills him, but he catches it. He's ready for it. And then he's like, oh, I could cut off your arms. Oh, and then I would cut off your legs. And nobody's going to want a paraplegic but me.
no, he
Or
said,
whatever.
he's no, he says like, he's like, and then I could cut out your voice, and then I could
That's
rip out
right.
your eyes. He's like, and he's like, and who would want an armless, legless, blind mute girl like you?
Yeah,
And it's like, I'm
just
like, oh my
insane.
God,
Yeah,
like,
this was on TV.
like, like this guy is talking about like, like ripping this girl apart limb from limb.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. And this is all with her tied up. But of course, her boyfriend knows something is wrong here. And they show up with him and his and
Well, it was the
Sophie's
wrong.
mom.
It was the wrong ring they fell on. I was like, he's like, that's not
That's
my
right.
grandma. That's not my grandmother's ring.
Yeah, so he's like, "Oh, I know something's up." So they show up to his house and like they're looking for Sophie, which he has her drugged and locked up in a chest. And the whole time he's just cocky with it. He's like, "Do you want me to make you a dinner or something like that?" The whole time is
It's like,
like,
would you like to check the garage too? Like,
yeah, just super cocky about it. And they give up. They're like, "Oh, we're out of here." Um, but so it ends
well,
up
well,
being. Oh, go ahead.
well, not even that. Like the mother just like starts crying. Like Ryan goes that like her boyfriend tells her like tells the fan like she's alive. I'm telling you, she's 100% alive. And like the mother's like kind of like okay, like, yeah, like that's it could be plausible. But once again, the dad's like, you are just like prolonged, like that, not even like questioning the fact that she's like, again, like they have to make this guy like a total idiot. It's
Yeah,
just like,
like the funeral's tomorrow. You're ruining it.
yeah. But yeah, they once they find out like that they can't find her body, like the mother breaks down, and then Dr. Beck like comforts like, it's okay, my dear. And then she's like, oh, Dr. Beck, thank you. Like it just did a complete 180 that, even despite like, yeah, this doctor was still a creep. Like even if he didn't technically kidnap her in your mind, he's still a creep. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, he still stalked her and creeped on her. Yeah, no, it's definitely not deserved at all. But this this movie ends up being a breakout movie, so nobody helps her, and she has to get out on her own. Sophie has to break away on her own. Um,
when
go ahead.
she shows up, like I'm like, when they said the funeral's tomorrow, I was like, I know what's gonna happen now. And just because because Sophie shows up to her own funeral, and then like in the middle of the service, like she just shows up and everyone's like, oh my God. Like,
And I'm sorry, I said the funniest moment was that text. No, the funniest moment. So the boyfriend walks with a limp and a cane from the wreck. The whole movie, he has to go to physical therapy. He can't really walk well. He sees this girl. He drops the cane and he runs to her. He is running.
oh
It's
no, I thought you were gonna say like the funniest scene was like
okay.
when Dr. Beck beat up the boyfriend.
Oh yeah, well that too. Yes.
Like, because there's a scene where he's like, because he shows up because he's like, you sent the text to Sophie, and now we're broken up because of you. And
Mhm.
he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And like he takes a swing at him, but then like he pushes him over, and then like he grabs his bad leg, and he's like, ah, my leg. And then he's like, you need to get out of here. And like, and his boyfriend's like, well, can you help me up at least? He's like, are you kidding me? And he throws the cane as far as he can. He's like, I'm off the clock.
Yeah, yeah. That was a funny bit of the movie where he beats up the cripple.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But no, you're right though. Like that running scene, because like that was like a whole plot point too. Because after he got in the accident, like I said, he was just totally distraught. He wanted that scholarship, and he's just like, the doctor said I can never run again.
But he doesn't. He runs for her.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. So that happens, and then the cops show up to Dr. Beck's house, but he's ran away. As we know, he gets away with it because there's more of these movies to go. So
Goes to Mexico.
yeah, and he's waiting for a date in Mexico. But yeah, so that's Stalked by My Doctor. We had a lot to pull out of that movie because you said it earlier, the correct word. This movie's deranged. It is just all over the place, insane. It's also insanely bad. It is a bad, bad,
Yeah.
bad movie. Eric
Nobody give
Roberts sucks.
Eric. No, not one person gives a good performance in this movie.
Yes, yeah, it's
It's atrocious, but
yeah,
it's so entertaining. It's just like
it
I
is. I had so much fun with this movie.
like I would never say watch this movie for as a good time, but well, I mean, as a good movie, but just the entertainment level is just so
Mhm.
off the charts.
No, I totally agree. And that's why like I give this kind of a light recommend. Like as like a bad movie night, this would be a good choice. I do think so. I think everyone would laugh and have a good time, and I'm somewhat interested to see where this goes.
We might have to see where it goes.
Yeah, yeah, we might have to one of these days, but I don't know. That's Stalked by My Doctor. What an interesting movie.
Yes, it was great.
Mhm. All right. Well, that wraps it up for this one. But Ryan, remind us, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, wait, did okay, wait.
You said vibes, and
Oh
then
yeah, okay.
mhm.
Here. Well, Nathan, we are going to be checking out the movie Vibes, and that
Mhm.
is going to be streaming over on Tubi right now.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch that one. Be sure to check out our Patreon, and you can email us at driveanddoublefuturepodcast@gmail.com. But until next time.
Until next time.